Myanmar has initiated a coup and taken control over the country, detaining civilian leaders like Aung San Suu Kyi. Now, in India, the problem has been an unstable neighborhood, political and other forms of instability in the neighborhood. And now with this coup in Myanmar, which is the first coup since 1962, it seems to have added to that problem. So how is India viewing this? What impact and implication does it have for India? These are the questions to which we are going to try and find answers in this episode of Government Matters with Nayanima Basu. So please start sending in your questions right away. Nayanima, so first tell us a little bit about what has happened in Myanmar.
Well, so in Myanmar, things were really not looking good since November onwards, when the election results had come in. And the National League for Democracy, Aung San Suu Kyi's party, had a whopping victory this time. And this time the victory was much more than what it was last year. The last round of elections. So at that time itself, the army, which is known as the Tatmadaw, they started talking about the fact that they won't accept the election results and the fact that they believe there's been a voter fraud this time. So while this haggling was going on between the army and the civilian government, so there was this tensions building up, and hints and statements were coming out from the Myanmar army that maybe they will be staging a coup. But then things were settling down, people were discussing, and Aung San Suu Kyi, she's been getting a lot of congratulatory notes from world leaders, which includes, of course, India, China, the neighbors and others. So it's been seen as the fact that democracy was finally settling in Myanmar. But then we need to understand that the Myanmarese constitution is being designed in such a way that the army has inordinate powers, right, along with the civilian government. So what really happened last Sunday was, just before the parliament was about to get convened for the first time after the elections, all these leaders were detained, including Suu Kyi, the state councillor. She got detained along with other more than 40 leaders of the NLD. And some activists were also, they were detained. So now the reports, as they are coming out from the local Myanmarese media reports, is that the fact that there will be more of this kind of detention may be happening. And they have already declared about a month-long, or maybe more than that. Some reports are saying year-long emergency. But then we've heard voices coming out from US and also from India and the others that democracy has to be restored at the earliest, or else the US has even threatened to impose sanctions that used to be earlier, before 2011 when the military was in power.
Right. So before we get to what's the implications for India, let's talk a little bit about how India has reacted to this, both of course officially and off the record.
So the fact that for India it has come as a sudden setback, and I would also say shock, at which is what everybody is talking about, including US and the European powers. The fact that nobody expected the coup will sort of happen again, and that the military, because remember this General Min Long Hang. General Lang was supposed to retire in this year, in July, and so that was making his position a little weak. So from India, the message is that they have expressed deep concern. They have also stated that they are India is looking for rule of law and democratic rights should be restored, but interestingly, it has not talked and used the word military coup as such. Okay. So countries have been very careful that, because historically India has also dealt with the military leaders, and we've had good relationship, be it the 60s or the 80s, even in the 90s. So which is why probably India did not use the word coup, but then yes, it has of course asked for restoration of democracy.
Okay, so now coming to the larger question about the implications on India, because we can see instability in the neighborhood, we can see what's happening in Nepal, of course with Pakistan there are constant tensions. So what does this mean for India to have yet another a cusp of instability around?
Well, frankly, this does not really come as a good news at all for India, any which way, because at this point of time, we've seen since the time Suu Kyi came to power and became the state councillor, and things, went back to normalcy since 2011 onwards. A lot of rebuilding of ties were happening. Rebuilding in the sense that, yes, we've always had good relationship with Myanmar, but more of strategically we were looking at Myanmar, right? Also, when Prime Minister Modi came to power in 2014, the focus was given on Myanmar. In fact, last year itself, when so much was being talked about with pandemic and visits not happening, we've seen our Army Chief General Navane and Foreign Secretary Shringla, they had visited in person to Myanmar in October. In fact, last month, in December, we had given them submarines. So, all those things were sort of building up, ties were becoming very serious, because let's not forget that India and Myanmar share about 1600 long, more than 1600 long kilometer border. We have a contiguous border, also a tri-junction in Arunachal Pradesh connecting India, Myanmar and China with mainland China. Although that's a vintage road, from the World War II era, but we do have that road. There's been this always this kind of fear that the Northeast has been unstable, and for which Prime Minister Modi had sought Suu Kyi's State Councillor Suu Kyi's help, and she had assured help that she'll see to it that the insurgents do not go into Myanmar or create tensions, or they acquire weapons from China and cross Myanmar to enter India. So all those things have been on a very delicate balance. So of course, strategically also, and from the security aspect, this really is not a good news for India as of now.
Okay. Raghav, how will the military takeover impact India-Myanmar relations? So you did mention that India has dealt with the military in the country in the past, but surely things would have changed now.
Yes, as I said that, since the 2008 constitution came in Myanmar, the army had a lot of power. They had a lot of say in the running of the country there. And that's how the balance was being sort of developed between the army and the civilian government. That's how other countries were also dealing with Myanmar. Also, historically, we've seen, as I was saying, in 1960s, there was this relationship we had, and also, although the tension started when Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was there, and then Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi had visited Myanmar in 1988, when things started to really blossom between these two countries. But there's been this influx of people also coming from Myanmar. There's been the Rohingya tension, which has been, I would say, the cornerstone of the bilateral ties, at least in the last 5-6 years. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, had sought Myanmar's help to repatriate the Rohingya refugees. In fact, Bangladesh was also depending on India to leverage its role, its position, and speak to Myanmar to get, the Rohingya refugees that are there in Bangladesh's Cox's Bazar. And they are having over 1 million Rohingya refugees living there, which is why the statement from Bangladesh that has come post this coup is that they've very clearly stated that the process of repatriation should not stop. Let's also not forget the fact that how when this Rohingya genocide, which the UN calls it, had happened, at that time a lot of negative light was thrown upon State Councillor Suu Kyi, because she was seen as defending the army and defending the genocide on this minority Muslim population there. So that has also created a lot of tension within India, Bangladesh, Myanmar, that kind of.
All right. Amit Srivastava, is the coup a result of increasing bonhomie between Aung San Suu Kyi and the CCP?
Well, had it been the CCP and Suu Kyi, then the coup wouldn't have taken place. See, we have to understand historically how Tatmadaw, the Myanmar army, they have worked. So they have always had this principle, if you go back to the older generals who used to run the country, they do not believe in depending on any foreign country for their own development, right? So they've been this strictly independent kind of a thing. They have at the cost of being isolated. Even when the American had sanctions, the Europeans had sanctions on them, they never, went to the UN or asking for relief of sanctions. But then, so that's the fact where things are coming in. Yes, there's been closeness developing between Suu Kyi and the CCP, but that's also because a lot of development projects were happening. But in fact, this time even the Chinese are also sort of shocked as to what's happening.
Right.
Although they were also getting an inkling, but then nobody thought that they will actually stage a coup.
In fact, that's the next question, which is from Rahul Verma. No reactions from China. How will China look at this Myanmar coup?
Well, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has reacted and they have given a very balanced statement, because everyone is sort of trying to analyze what exactly had happened, because this is, as some reports are saying, that this is reminding people of what Donald Trump was doing in US, not accepting the election results and staging a coup, and refusing to understand and go by what your population is telling you in terms of the results. So yeah, I mean, at that point of time, now what the Chinese are doing, as I said, that for them also it came as a sort of a setback. So they're also trying to analyze what is actually happening, how things are going to shape up. Because if now General Min Long Hang, who was supposed to retire, if he is now going to get all the power, and if he's now declared himself to be the state leader, if he becomes the state leader, then you have to actually negotiate with him for all the projects that the Chinese are running there. That's a call that India will also have to take. How open and how free will you be? Because again, from the Biden administration, things have come up that they will only speak with the democratic government and they will not deal with the military generals. So that puts definitely India in a spot. It remains to be seen what the Chinese do.
Okay. Shweta, what really led to the military coup after so many years? Why has the army acted now? So, of course, the provocation was the election.
The election, yeah, because what they are saying, it's the voter fraud that they were against, but that's what people are saying. But staging a coup was not the sort of thing that they had expected, because it's been going on for last 2-3 months. People were hinting at that. They could have also gone for re-elections if needed be. But then again, I mean, I think what the army thought, that it's best to stage a coup, and that's what they've been doing.
Right. So, Nayanima, just if you were to just piece some things together around the neighborhood, because we've had conversations about Nepal very recently in government matters. There are tensions with China. Pakistan is a constant, point of contention. With Bangladesh, also things became a bit iffy when the entire CA NRC issue blew up. So, at this point, where is India placed with respect to the neighborhood? How grim does the situation look?
We'll see. As we speak, we do have the LSC tensions going on between India and China. We also are not having very good, negotiations going on right now, even with Sri Lanka, with a certain port project. Then we have, but then again, we've recently done this vaccine diplomacy, where we've given vaccines free of cost to all our neighbors as a goodwill gesture. In fact, we've given them to Myanmar just last week. So, that's how things were going. But yes, it is a difficult neighborhood that India is facing at this point of time from all aspects, not just Pakistan. With Pakistan, the equation, as you rightly said, is completely different. And things have completely changed with downgrading of diplomatic ties with Pakistan post 370. But yes, when it comes to Nepal also, this issue of the map, the unsettled border, then yes, you also have Bangladesh, which has asked for a lot of things this time from you in terms of trade and other issues. So yes, we are facing a very difficult time with the neighborhood.
As far as the neighborhood is concerned.
And also, coming back to Myanmar, let's not forget that Myanmar it's right at the tip of the Strait of Malacca, right? So for the Indo-Pacific strategy also, that the US is so pushing it forward for Australia, also Myanmar is key. Now, if you have an army rule there, which which probably if it aligns with the Chinese, then the Indo-Pacific, nobody knows where it goes from here.
Right, absolutely. Well, adding to India's neighborhood woes, the military coup in Myanmar, as Nayanima pointed out, India at this point is treading cautiously, but we'll have to wait to see how the Modi government really responds to what has happened, and also what it means for India in the long term. Thank you so much for watching Government Matters and for sending in your questions. Do keep subscribing to our YouTube channel. Visit our website, ThePrint.in, follow us on Twitter and like our Facebook page.